Ladies and gentlemen and boys and girls from Lima Shenanigans of 1977, it's Tuesday, and you know what that means. It's time for the NXT Event Center Wrestling Report. And now here's the man that will bring you all the wrestling happenings from the WWE Superstars of tomorrow, Eric M. Lima.
Thank you very much, Mr. Announcer, sir. Hello there, one and all, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is another episode of Lima Shenanigans in 1977, episode 2311. Now, there's going to be a lot of these going to occur. A lot of, next day Wrestling Event Center reports. Because sometimes when I'm streaming on with somebody else or something else is happening, sometimes I end up staying late and be like past 11:30, and all that good stuff. Or events go long, like AEW is going to be tonight, Dynamite, Collision, Summer Blockbuster 2025. I figured might as well do them the next day. That way I can have a head when I wake up in the morning. Because sometimes, at night, I usually oh boy. I usually not think straight and okay, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to want to talk about? And I forget, and sometimes I'm falling half asleep too. So that's another reason why. So just bear with me, folks. I know sometimes a lot of people are impatient about my videos and all that. Sometimes, and you don't have to tell me or anything. So good thing is I got everything here. So here we go. We're going to talk about what happened last night on NXT, the NXT Event Center. It's a fallout from 3 events. TNA Against All Odds, considering Trick Williams is now the TNA champion, being a member of NXT. Worlds Collide, because we had a participant from Worlds Collide from NXT, in 2 people actually, Ethan Page and Javon Evans, and then you got Money. Yeah, that's it. So because none of the NXT competitors on the current roster competed at Money in the Bank. But, however, it is what it is. So, just follow up from Against All Odds and Worlds Collide. That's it. So Obafemi and Jasmine. Obafemi was about to enter the PC. NXT is no safe place. Whether during the day or at night, because it was during that afternoon. Jasper Troy blindsides Obafemi, throws him through a windshield of a car, and that jeopardizes, the title match. So a little bit more of that situation. Meanwhile, the North American Championship on the line is Ethan Page, who retained the title at Worlds Collide, went up against Super Sean Legacy, and Ethan Page ended up retaining the title. But as he retained the title, Ricky Saints made his return and attacked Ethan Page. And Ricky Saints was not in a good mood, laying a smackdown on Page. And then Fatal Influence confronts Ava and running their mouths about who are we going to defend the title against? Do we have to, who we have to defend the title? How are you going to go about this? Says nobody can touch us and everything. Then Laney Reed comes in. Forgive me, my back is itchy. Laney Reed comes in and says that you're a beatable champion. And then after JC Jane says some insulting things to Laney Reed slapped the champion twice. 2 times. Laney Reed, a newcomer, slapping the champion. I'm like, oh boy, she really wants to make an impact. And JC Jane says, you know what, Ava? Make the match. I'll put my title on the line. Ava goes, okay. And then Zarya and Sol Ruka were doing a little TikTok video until they saw, Lash Legend arguing with Kaylani Jordan. And then Ren Sinclair stood up for Kaylani Jordan. And Carmen Petrovich was just sitting there going, this is awkward. And Zoruka and Zarya went back to the camera and said, drama! So that. Now, the culling addresses Brooks Jensen. As you know, they still mention him by name. I don't know if he got released or they repackaging Brooks Jensen, maybe. Wrestle him and wrestle isn't real. and like he's the son of Bull Buchanan, Justice. I don't know. Anyways, they decided to they addressed Brooks Jensen, and then they went to their tag team matchup against Josh Bridge and Yoshiki Inamura, and the calling that was Sean Spears and Nico Vance, along with Izzy Dame in their corner. Izzy Dame got involved during the match, but in attendance, however, is AAA star Psycho Clown and Octagon Jr. Looks like, do they want to be part of NXT? Or is there a working relationship now? Since WWE acquired AAA, it's going to be a lot of fun. And Izzy Dane gets involved during the matchup, but it ended up costing Yoshiki and Briggs in the end as the Culling picked up the victory. Now Ava, a little upset with Ricky Saints, and said, "Do you know what you're doing?" And she was a little upset, and she said, you can't even talk. You can't, you still can't talk. And he see the bruises on your neck. Go home until you're medically clear. You don't come back. Ricky Saints is upset, and I don't blame him. If you're upset, you lost your title, and then Ethan Page injures you, trying to end your career. You know you want to get your hands on the guy, Ava. So, anyways, I don't know what Ava's thinking about having sending Ricky Starks home. Well, Sarah Schreiber was standing outside the medical room in the medical room about Obafemi's condition, and it seems like as far as that, I know, as far as the she knows that the match will still go on for the championship. Meanwhile, the Glamour. Let's talk about this young lady for a while. The Glamour. That's right, Mariah May. Well, they had a little vignette of her taking a little bit of bubble bath and getting into clothes. But she will not be Mariah May in the WWE or NXT. She will be known as Blake Monroe, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I thought for sure, I kind of get it. I thought, it's named Blake after Blake Lively, the actress, and then the legendary actress Marilyn Monroe. That is not the case. I do apologize for this error, because Blake Monroe, she's taken the name in honor of her niece. Well, that's a good way. I like that. That's a great sentimental reason to take the first name of your niece, and then Monroe, of course, for the legendary Marilyn Monroe. Now, a lot of people are not very happy about the name change. I mean, I can understand that. Like I say, sometimes, even though Mariah May is technically her real name, because that's her first and middle name, but I would have gone with May Monroe, or the Y could become an E, you become May Monroe. That would be more, honoring Mae Young and Marilyn Monroe, two legendary ladies in their profession back in the day. Way back in the day. But she's going by Blake Monroe. So it'll be very interesting to see how Blake Monroe, a.k.a. Mariah May, ends up, faring here. So. Then Ren Sinclair took on Lash legend Kaylani joined on commentary, and Ren Sinclair was also a former guest of the Rant and Rave podcast. We don't need to get into details why that is. It is. This is before she made it to the WWE, by the way, when she was known as Maddie Renkowski. And Lash Legend ended up winning that matchup as Kaylani joined is eyeing her. Meanwhile, Lainey Reed addresses JC Jane as she says JC Jane's a beatable champion. I'm going to show you how and get it done. Meanwhile, Sarah Schreiber questioning Jasper Troy about, listen, you're costing yourself a chance at the NXT title. And Jasper Troy's, I know that, but I know what I'm doing. And I know I know Obafemi. He's going to be a fighting champion, so I think he's trying to weaken Obafemi. And you know what? If I had a title match against my opponent, I would not attack them before the match. I'm sorry. That's not a wise decision to make. Unless you want to soften up the person before the match, that's fine. So, NXT Women's Title on the line, JC Jane defending it against Lainey Reed. and JC Jane ended up retaining the title. So Ava makes the decision about Jane's next title defense, who her next opponent. They'll have 4 Fatal 4-Way qualifying matches. The winners of these 4 Fatal 4 qualifying matches will face each other in a Fatal 4-Way. The winner of the Fatal 4-Way will face the NXT Women's Champion for the title, if it's JC Jane by then, at Evolution. That's a huge deal. So, that's a huge deal. So that means the NXT Women's title will be on the line at Evolution. There's no doubt. Inamura and Briggs were upset in the locker room about the loss, but then the first class jerks came in as Casey Navarro and AJ Francis, who bought a Nintendo Switch too, and said we're all poor people. No, we're being smart people, AJ Francis. In fact, keep on doing your flop dollar impression. Anyways, and they were making fun of Josh Briggs, Yoshiki Inamura, and Elijah. Interrupts first class and said, what are you guys doing? And then he said, you know, we're going to go find a champ. So, and we'll settle this. So Tony D'Angelo talked to Luca Crucifino before their matchup. He said, who's that? Because Luca was on the phone. That guy's on up. Who are you talking to? Just making a phone call. Just getting some business. Can I trust you? And he said, after you. So, the No Quarter Catch crew was talking to Miles Bourne. Tyler Dempsey shook Miles Bourne's hand, saying, good job, you may go. And then Javon Evans congratulates Miles Bourne. And then Tavion Heights wants a shot and says, yeah, you know. So I think Charlie Dempsey needs to realize that they're gonna want to be on their own. Sometimes you gotta let the wings fly. Besides, you didn't create the crew. Drew Gulak did, but he left. Anyways. And also in Iguana's El Hijo D. Dr. Wagner Jr., or I call him Dr. Wagner. It was simply interpreted by Santos Escobar as Dr. Wagner III. And Mr. Iguana with La Yesca in attendance. We might see a lot of these AAA wrestlers in NXT rings, man. I can't wait for that. Meanwhile, Tony D'Angelo and Luca Crucifino went up against the High Rise. That's a team of Tyson DuPont, Tyreek Igwe, with Wesley in their corner. And during the matchup, Stacks gets involved with a crowbar, and then as Tony D'Angelo disposed of him, Stacks ended up dropping the crowbar in the middle of the ring. Luca Crucifino ended up picking it up, and then Tony D'Angelo catches him with it and is like, are you going to whack me with it? And all that with the argument, but that ended up costing them in the end as the High Rise ended up winning the matchup. Sarah Schreiber interviewed Trick Williams as Trick Williams says, we'll gather up first class. I'm going to fly first class. So, also, the NXT title on the line, Oba Femi versus Jasper Troy. You talk about a battle of big, meaty men slapping meat. And these two are going at it. But Oba, despite the fact what Jasper Troy did to him not too long ago, Oba Femi ended up retaining the title. What's next for the ruler? We'll find out for sure. Next week on next week's card, Pro will officially sign her NXT contract. Meanwhile, the Evolution Eliminator matches goes like this for next week. Lash Legend versus Kaylani Jordan. Zarya versus Izzy Dame. Thea Hale versus Jada Parker, and Lola Vice versus Jordan Grace. Winners of those 4 will advance to the Fatal 4-Way, and the winner of that Fatal 4-Way will get a shot at Evolution. Oh, meanwhile, the 6-man tag team match will happen next week as Josh Briggs, Yoshiki Inamura, and Elijah to take on Trick Williams and First Class. Well, that is it. That's all the time we have on this episode. Episode 2311 of Eric Lima Shenanigans, 1977. We got Evolve tonight on Tubi and also AEW Dynamite on TBS. I'll see you guys later. You guys have a wonderful, blessed day. A great day. Hope your day is better than mine. Hope your day is about as good as mine. Or even better. I want to thank everybody for tuning into the show. And until next episode comes rolling around, Mr. Announcer, take us home.
That is all for today's episode of the show. This is Mr. Announcer speaking for Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977. A Big Beefy E and do it for Bob Saget production, and in association with a Raving Bull for 3000 Telepictures and Distribution. Thank you for watching another episode of Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977. See you later on the next episode of the show. Goodbye for now.